So the first passage we'll look at is in Galatians chapter 2, verse 16. Now, this is going to be translated slightly differently depending on what English version you're using, but I'm not going to be relying on the English. We're going to be relying on the Greek text. So follow this because some of the details are really specific and we need to pay attention to these details. So in Galatians 2:16, Paul says, "Nevertheless, knowing that a man is not justified by the works of the law, but through the faithfulness of Jesus Christ, even we have believed in Christ Jesus." Galatians chapter 2, verse 16. Now, there are some translations that will make the contrast between being justified by works of the law with having faith in Jesus, meaning that believers are the subject and they are expressing their faith, their trust in Jesus, the object of their faith. The problem, though, is that it makes Paul sound really redundant to say that we are justified by faith in Jesus Christ, even we have believed in Christ Jesus. Why would Paul say that believers are believing in Christ Jesus twice in a row? That seems a little bit redundant. So what a lot of scholars have done, and I think that this is actually a very convincing reading of the evidence, is that they've looked a little more closely at this first line, the line that I translated as "through the faithfulness of Jesus Christ." And this actually suggests that Jesus himself is the subject. Jesus himself is actually expressing faith, faithfulness, trust, obedience, and of course, Jesus was faithful to God. And these scholars have looked and they've seen, of course, that the Greek text says the pisteos Jesu Christou, and this is faith, the noun that is in the genitive, and it's being modified by the genitive of Jesus Christ. And so this is through the faith or faithfulness of Jesus Christ. This is not the verb, faith in. This is the noun, the faith that actually belongs to Jesus Christ, or I think that's what the text is indicating here. And so that actually would make a lot more sense. It actually makes a lot more sense that it's through Jesus' own faithfulness, Jesus demonstrating faithfulness to God, and then Paul can say that we believe in Christ Jesus. It removes the redundancy. It's not two expressions of believers believing in Jesus. Paul doesn't need to say that twice. He can just say it once. It actually indicates that Jesus himself did something that brought about justification in the present. And Paul's going to elaborate a little bit more on this in verse 20, which we're going to look at a little bit later.